Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Postgame Overreaction show. My name is Rodney DeBolsey. I'm joined by Paul Meharry. Paul is actually at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I still want to call it Mercedes-Benz Dome because it's a dome stadium, or I still want to call it the Dome because but Mercedes-Benz paid a lot of money for that, so we'll call it Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Georgia has scored 50 points. They scored 49 points when they were there last time. Paul, they're averaging 49.5 points. Good math ability there on my part. This season, playing inside the Georgia Dome, and it looks like they're going to be playing there again in 28 days against whoever they put at number 4 in the playoff rankings. I can't see Georgia after a pretty impressive win over in the SEC title game. Can't see them falling from number 1 to number 2. I don't care what Michigan does today. You were there. Tell us, paint the picture for us, because it's on TV. They had all these packages they wanted to run. Hey, look at our graphic. I get it. They spent all week building graphics and doing stories and doing video clips. Our man Dave McMahon he helps them put that stuff together. They wanted to run all their items, but tell us from somebody who was there what it was like.
Yeah, it was a boat race. When Kirby and those guys went for 2 to go up to the 50 burger, everybody was like, "What are they doing? Why are they doing that?
Why are you chasing points?"
Yeah, and they needed them. And I've got notes here for each drive. So I don't know if you can see, but I've got notes for each drive here. So we'll go in depth on each one of them. But they needed them at the end of the day. The backup quarterback situation against Georgia seems to strike again. And it's one of those things. I'm curious to see what Kirby had to say in his press conference, because let me see. I'll pull the stats real quick. I think, they had 502 passing yards. Newsonmeyer went 15 of 27 for 294 after Jaden Daniels came out of the game.
In a half. Yeah,
it's one of those things that you look at and you go, damn, they scored 50 points. That's really good. But then you start looking at down the road, obviously, the matchups that Georgia could be facing, whether it be TCU or you got TCU or Ohio State. And I think right now you want TCU. You do not want Ohio State. Well, then all hell breaks loose and nobody knows what's going to happen, right? But I think at this point right now, you do not want to face Ohio State. You have some secondary issues, But at the end of the day, you're SEC champs. You just hung 50 points in the Dome against an LSU team who, for all intents and purposes, last week was, whatever it was. It feels like kind of an anomaly against Texas A&M, but they looked good. They have really good wide receivers, and I think this is a good prep matchup for Georgia heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, in my 3-2-1 column, I said, look, and Kirby mentioned as well, when they get the ball to those receivers are explosive. Those guys they're
very explosive, yeah.
And they were playing with house money. They look, we're down 20 points. Let's just throw it, and tossed up some passes. But here's the thing: last Tuesday, when Coach Donna was on the show, on their live show, he said, Georgia's maybe not as good as they are, but they're not as bad as sometimes I make them out to be. And basically just saying, there are some issues with this team that he sees as a coach. And he's told me many times that, we've got some issues in the secondary. Kirby said it, he said it publicly and privately. They've got stuff to work on. To me, the secondary was a bit exposed tonight. You see how to attack that secondary. Now, against the run, Georgia's lights out. But, teams have been able to get them through the air. You just don't have the same linebackers who can do coverage like you did, when you had Nakobe Dean and Roquan Smith and guys like that. They're great against the run, not as great against the pass. So you score 50 points, some crazy plays in it. Dominant offensive performance. Defensively, they just had some issues. But again, a lot of that was the fact that they have to go a little crazy because you're up 2-3 scores on them by halftime, and they've got to throw it. And they rolled the dice and they hit on some really big plays. There's some bad techniques in there that make you worry. And my thing was last year, the one team I didn't want Georgia to face was Ohio State with Olave and all those guys they had. Looks like you'll be facing Ohio State again with, Harrison Jr. and some really talented wide receivers. Not a great defense, but you just kind of wish that USC had pulled it out and were able to play against that terrible defense. You just think what Brock Bowers would be doing to them. So great offensively. good defensively, but this is the most points Georgia's given up all year.
Somebody's blowing a vuvuzela on the field or something. It's getting wild over here. I thought it was done. But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think Brent Rollins is walking in right now. Hold up. Let's get a special appearance by Brent. Brent, what's going on? Brent, come get in here real quick. Yeah, we're rolling right now.
All right.
Yeah. Jump on in here, Brent. Hey, Brent, you're an hour.
No, take a seat.
You're good.
No, take a seat.
Sit down, man.
Paul just told me to take a seat.
Paul's got to go smoke, so that's what Brent, give me, you always do your thoughts and observations from the post-game show. Give us your thoughts and observations on this game.
The biggest thing, they're the king of kings. Like, the biggest conference in college football and best conference in college football. Georgia's the king, and they're on the top of that mountain right now, and that's something to be celebrated and thing that can't really forget about. Outside of that, it's, hey, Stetson should be in New York. Like, I don't know that he's necessarily going to win it. Don't know that he should, but he should be there as a finalist. 100% should be there.
4 touchdowns, almost 300 yards passing, no interceptions. Twice they put the ball on the ground. Once they lost it. Minor thing, but I mean, you get 4 touchdown passes in an SEC championship game, offensive MVP. For the folks that say he's a system quarterback or it's the defense that wins it for him. They needed all the points they could get, and he helped them get 50 points. Now, granted, one of those was a run back on the special teams, but just a crazy game with the interception that bounces off a tight end's helmet, the block kick. But again, I said this before the game. It seemed like the only team that gets in Georgia's way, they're 13-0, is Georgia.
Yeah. Well, I feel that way moving forward, honestly.
When are they going to fix it? When are they going to fix it?
Well, and by the way, just think about the first half in, to me, their 5 biggest games. So Oregon, South Carolina, games that sort of had some vibe, had some juice to them, had some build-up. Oregon, South Carolina, because they were, talking smack in the offseason and just kind of feeling good about themselves as early. Florida, Tennessee, and then this game. In those 5 games, just in the first half, 139 points for Georgia, 22 for the opponent.
So 100 and whatever.
Over, like, you're averaging almost 20, right at 20-something point lead at the half in these 5 biggest games. It just sort of goes to show that when they want to put it in the gear that they want to, there's nothing that can be stopped. The other thing I thought was interesting in the game was how much, and what it wrote about, how much shifting you saw from one side to the other. Like, continuously saw oftentimes both Darnell or Brock receivers shifting from one side of the ball to the other. Like, how do you slow down speed and aggressiveness that LSU has on defense? You make it think a lot.
Yeah.
And I think almost every play there was a concerted effort to make them have to adjust and think in effort to kind of slow them down a little bit too, I think.
Well, go back to last year. They would run that wedge, 2 tight ends and a wide receiver in tight. And you had this, like almost like a trips formation that people are familiar with, but it's right on the line, outside the tackle. So you've got all those guys bunched up over there. And now both those guys can go out, so can the wide receiver, it's just, or you can run behind it. And Georgia kept running into it, and they ran play after play. I think there was 3 plays right before they scored where they ran 3 different run plays out of that formation, and each one was almost completely different. And we haven't seen them do that, but maybe once or twice all year, and they break it out for this game. And if you're Harold Perkins and you're all over the place, and you're B.J. Ojulari, wait a minute, I got Warren McClendon,
one of y'all,
Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, and Marcus Roseby-Jack Saints stacked up over here. They might run into this, or they might throw out of this. I thought it was. I've been waiting on it all year, and they've held that back. We talked about maybe them going a little vanilla. They held that until this game.
And also just even like the 5 games that I mentioned, they were over 60% throwing in those first 4. It was 65% throwing in the first half of this game. Like, I think when the conditions, but then 2, just the game itself, you see aggressive Todd Monken come back. And that's when you're like that aggressive, and it's just like anything else. It's throw to get the lead, throw to take control of the game, run the ball to finish the game. And they did that today. I mean, I think that at one point we were talking in the box, it was 150 yards rushing through much of the third quarter and early into the fourth that they had.
What a masterful performance you had in the second quarter. Georgia only had 3 plays. They had 1 drive, 3 plays in the first 13 minutes of the game. They had that 1 drive and went 3 and out. They finally get it back and they drive the length of the field. But the second quarter, starting with the block kick and then just absolute – it kind of felt like that Florida game where it was really tight until there was 2 minutes left, and then Georgia scored like 3 times in 2 minutes. That second quarter had that same feel to it.
Yeah, and it was other than the missed field goal, it would have been 5 straight drives of touchdown or points, and 4 of those were touchdowns. It was dominant. I mean,
there's 3 and out.
I will say there's a lot of the sort of throwing game part of it that LSU and the space and the deep ball and things like that, where you're like, I just think that's how someone's going to have to beat them. But here's what you have to do when you do that. You have to do that for 4 quarters and consistently. Because what happened in that second quarter that you just mentioned, that run, 3 straight 3 and outs for LSU.
Yeah.
Like, and when you combine that with them and their aggressiveness offensively, it's just I don't see much stopping them other than, like you said, themselves.
I like Kevin Tolbert's. Well, what time's the Bama game tonight? That's cold-blooded. that is some cold-blooded stuff there.
Well, I'll let Mr. Paul take back over because this is his rodeo. The POS is his.
Brent, we appreciate it. Thanks for all you do, my friend.
All right.
Folks, if you're not following Brent Rollins on Twitter, please do so. He is the doctor. He's got a PhD. I don't think it's in football, but it might as well be. He does a lot of our analysis, our Film Don't Lie series. The guy is a football genius when it comes to breaking down film. And he's coached a little bit. He's played a little bit. But be sure to follow Brent and follow the Film Don't Lie series. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, go ahead and like that page, or subscribe to our YouTube page, because that's where they post all these Film Don't Lie pieces. They're going to have a great breakdown of the offense and defense from this game and the play of the game. That's going to be my next question. I'm going to go ahead and tip my hat here to Paul. I'm going to ask him what the play of the game is, because there's a lot of good ones. But they'll also be breaking down in the upcoming weeks whoever Georgia's opponent is in the playoffs. So if it's TCU, Ohio State, whoever it is, they will be looking at those teams offensively and defensively and having you prepped for what's coming. So we'll mention that. Good to see you. I feel bad that I can't get all these comments in here. We got a ton of them going from Brett and Josh and Robbie and everybody. I'm going to keep popping them in there. But, and we saw Rico Johnson had joined us for a second there. Hey, Rico, come back. Pick up the phone.
Matthew Cotton giving us some pounds over here. So in your opinion, who are we playing next, guys?
TCU.
Yeah, I think you want TCU. I think Ohio State will jump them. Because here's my take on that, right? There's a lot of people saying, well, the committee doesn't want the Michigan-Ohio State rematch. Yes, they do. That game was the most televised game this year by a large margin.
Yeah.
And they don't want that again? Are you absolutely out of your mind? Yes, they want that again. And Michigan might not want it again, but Ohio State wants another shot at them in a primetime game, because that game will be the Fiesta game. It'll be 8 o'clock. Primetime Ohio State Michigan rematch. They can build that up for 3 weeks. Are you kidding me? So the people saying that the college football playoff doesn't want that rematch is they're not correct. That's not right. They want that rematch.
This was a great point that actually happened on the show. So during, I think it was halftime, Coach Donnan whips out his phone, and he talks to everybody who's everybody. That's why he's able to get like Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and Mac Brown and Dabo Swindy and all these guys to come on our podcast and such like that. He talks to national pundits all over the place. Paul Feinbaum, guys like that. So he starts making calls during halftime. I'm saying, what the hell's he doing over there? And he's talking to people, and he wants to know what does it look like for the playoffs. And what you bring up is very important. They don't care so much about the matchups as they do the rankings. In other words, you're not going to move a team up to avoid a certain matchup. You want to say team number 1 is 1. Number 2 spot is our second best team. Number 3 is the third best team. We're not going to put the third best team at the 4th spot so that they have to avoid the second best team and play the number 1. We're going to put them in the order that we expect them. And I was like, and again, he's talking to people who talk to people on the playoff committee. And I'm with you. I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're going to have a different motivation to avoid these matchups. But you're right.
Hell no.
And what Dane made a good point. What network would it be on?
Isn't Fox Fiesta?
I don't think so. In other words, a different network would get that and get
they're all on ESPN.
So of course they're like, yeah, give us those games. So people like to see it. I don't think people would want to see it as a championship game. What happened when Alabama and Georgia played as in a rematch? We're like, well, we've already seen this game, So I think seeing it as a semifinal instead of a final is also would be two birds with one stone, if you will.
And also to Indy Clip's point here, he says you get a rematch and you get a Big Ten team in the championship 100%. So the Big Ten would go for it.
That's a great point. I didn't even think
Big
that.
Ten would 100% go for it.
Yeah.
They're all on ESPN.
They get two in and nobody makes it.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I don't know where that whole talk of the playoff committee doesn't want those two teams. That would be a humongous game. And absolutely, like, you have to think of total views, right? So you have to think of the 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. Georgia, TCU, and Michigan, Ohio State is going to garner more views than if you split up Ohio State at 4 and TCU at 3. The Georgia Ohio State game will get a little bit of views, but that Michigan TCU game, nobody's going to watch that.
No,
nobody cares for that game. But you switch them up, you get Georgia, they're going to bring their crowd, right? There's always a big crowd to watch Georgia, and then you get Michigan, Ohio State. That's your best ratings, and I think that's also, like you said, Roddy, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 Ohio State, 4 TCU. That's how the best teams are right now.
Yeah.
Those are the best. So that's what you go with.
And you can't – if TCU, when they're working it out, all of a sudden you're like, okay, you lost and we're going to leave you at 3. And maybe that's fair because they lost in overtime by what, a foot?
By a foot,
in. So I could see someone saying, no, we're going to keep it right there. Hey, we're going to bring in Rico Johnson. So he heard his name. He popped up. All right, Rico, give us your thoughts here. Hey, let me get that banner out of your face real quick.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how y'all doing? Always been a fan of the show. First time actually like in the actual show itself, but I've always been a fan, and first thing first, go Dogs. So
there you go. Appreciate it, Rico. Hey, give us your thoughts on the game, my friend, and then tell us what you want to talk about. First thoughts, then your point.
Overall, the game, I felt like the offense was dominant, but I don't know what the defense. I don't know if they were drunk last night. I don't know if I don't know. And I'm getting. I don't know what's going on with Kelly Ringo. Like he has his good games, and then he just does like boneheaded things like. And consecutively he does it. Not turning his head around, getting lost where the ball is, not making plays on the ball. I don't know. It's just, I'm like Kelly is like I don't know how you digress in a year, but I think the MVP of the game on defense was Jalen Carter though. He just completely went on another level and. That was like the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. Getting sacked and then lifted up one like a girl, like a child.
With
one hand. Just out, Rico. I don't mean to interrupt you. Man, you about to get blown out there?
No, I said with the one finger up. That's what Carter was doing.
Oh no! Yeah. All of a sudden you got really loud in the background there. So.
Oh my bad.
No, but you're right. He holds him up, and Rico, I tweeted this out. That's the single most dominant play I've ever seen. And again, I've been doing this since 1993, covered Georgia. I remember seeing Jadeveon Clowney knock a guy's helmet off. Well, you hit a face mask, it pops. It was a monster play. But my point is, when you just destroy an offensive lineman, then grab the quarterback and hold him like a teacup poodle, like a 3-year-old child. And Jaden Daniels just laughing like this man's got me.
Yeah,
Please don't play.
You got to go to the sideline. You got to lead the game.
Shout out to Jaden Daniels, but. That was it. Really, I'm sure you've played flag football, at a Thanksgiving meal or dinner with, your nieces and nephews or your cousins who are little kids, and you pick up the 4-year-old and you just hold him over your head. It looked like a man amongst boys. Don't mean to interrupt.
I don't know if y'all been on Twitter, but there's like memes of him doing it, and they got like one of the Lion King.
No, I ain't seen it yet.
That's hilarious, man.
Dude, hey Paul, you gotta look that up and share it. We gotta find that Lion King.
I had a question for you guys. So, I mean, going back to the defense, do y'all think that was like a game plan to allow them to just air it out, or I mean, the run game was like pretty much that was a no-go. But I mean,
you're not gonna give up 500 yards of passing. Well, put it this way: they had Ohio State, LSU had one 10-yard or one run of more than 10 yards, a 40-yard, 47-yard rush. So that was the only one that was over a 10-yard run. They gave up, 13, 14 passes. They were almost 10, 20 yards just through the air. Georgia's secondary is not that good. And people keep asking me why are you so pessimistic? Why do you keep worried? Why are you worried about the Kentucky game? They just lost to Vandy. I'm like, well, you're going up against a great quarterback, and Vandy's got to prove themselves. They just lost Kentucky's got to prove themselves. They just lost to Vandy. Why are you worried about Florida? We're going to kill Florida. I'm like, because Anthony Richardson's pretty good. Point being, I've known that this secondary has some issues. This is not the same secondary that you had. This isn't Otis Reese back there, not Otis Reese, Lewis Sean back there.
Yeah.
Malachi Starks was good, but
he's a freshman. I'm not putting that much blame on him.
But point being, they have not faced a lot of great teams. They faced some good teams, but everybody they faced has been pretty mediocre. Now they went up against a guy who was throwing for his life, and he made some crazy passes. But how many times were they bracketing a wide receiver, and the guy made the catch? You had 2-on-1, and he still came down with the ball. So that's why I'm not saying I'm scared of Ohio State, but I would feel much better if Georgia's going to play USC. So they're not as great against coverage as they could be. Now, when Georgia's defense knows it's a pass, in other words, you got it behind the sticks, it's 3rd and 8. This is a dominant defense. 2nd and 9, great. 1st and 10, 2nd and 3, they get gashed. That's just how it is. Go back, look at every game. When they get a team behind the sticks, they kill them. And most of the year, Rico, they have a lead, a 2-3 score lead, which makes the other team do what? Throw the ball. You drop 7-8 into coverage.
I get what you're saying. The reason why I ask the questions because ever since Kirby's been here, we always had a defensive bend but don't break. So when we get into that red zone area,
they were soft.
Yeah,
they played a lot of that was soft play. But also when they were in man, they got burned. They went to zone, they got burned. So you're playing soft. You got these huge cushions trying to keep everything underneath you, and they still got behind you and burned you into double coverage.
Yeah,
I found that picture, by the way. Here it is. And then Alan Fowler says from Jaden Daniels' Wikipedia entry at the moment, Jaden Daniels, born December 18th, 2000, is an American football quarterback for the LSU Tigers. Daniels is a son of Jalen Carter of the Georgia Bulldogs. Daniels previously played for Arizona State Sun Devils before transferring to LSU in 2022.
I love our fans, man. I love
that. Man. That's some good shit right there.
I love that. I love
really
that
good
photo.
So shout out to I think that's Field Street Forum that put that up. So shout out to those guys over there.
That's
pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want to hold up too much, guys. If anybody else is in the chat, but I just wanted to get on and just share my thoughts and
we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Rico, that's why we have the show, my friend.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Rico. Hey, and Rico, be sure to come back next time.
You too, man.
We'll see you. We'll see you in a month.
All right.
All right.
No, hey, great comments there from Rico. I love that. And folks, get your questions into the comment section there. We'll try to put up. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, I know they were gonna. It was 14-7. My TV just shut off in my suite here that I rented out for the show.
They called back a touchdown.
Yeah, they called back a touchdown. So it's 10-7 now. Let's see who we got next.
We got Eddie from Ackworth.
Oh boy.
Then we got John after him.
What is he wearing, Eddie? What are you doing? I just dropped my
SEC team, baby. Come on.
That looks like you're on HGH or something. Like, you can't take that. It's not legal.
And he's got that Liver King stuff going on there, man.
Come on.
Yeah.
We just won the SEC. And Roddy, here you go, right here, baby. I got to move it.
Wait, no, are you wearing pants?
Yeah, I was going to say,
wearing
please.
pants.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm wearing pants. Relax. There you go, Roddy, right there. Right there.
Oh, check it out. Yeah, look at
Bustle Town, and that's my beautiful wife right there in college. So there you go, there. Do your ads, my friend. Go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to mention I'm having a celebratory old-fashioned with my Fiddler bourbon. I got the Georgia Heartwood. I'm embarrassed to tell you. I'm not going to tell you how many bottles of that I've had. That's
Okay.
But point being, when you get a chance, check out their ASW distillery. This is award-winning bourbon, award-winning gin, award-winning vodka. They have 3 tasting rooms in Atlanta, 1 over the Battery. Go try it out. And here's the thing. 5 of their 6 founders are Georgia alums. And when they go and they win all these awards from the World Spirits Competition, it is well earned. These are blind taste tests. So Georgia fans, national champs, the folks at ASW Distillery, absolute champs. They win all these gold and silvers in their in the blind taste test. So if you want fantastic bourbon, gin, vodka, try it out. The rye, the Resurgence Rye is fantastic. You know, everyone's like, well, you got to have this rye. You know, no, try the Resurgence Rye. I'm not even a rye drinker. I love the stuff. So hit up ASW, and I will tell you who won the free bottle of bourbon here shortly. And I think we'll set up one more for the playoff game. So I'll get to that in a moment. All right, Eddie, give us your take there.
Before you go on, Roddy,
Yes,
I had that, by your request, I had that Bustletown vodka for my boys coming over, and we had Bloody Marys, and you asked me about it. The bottle was gone by
there we go.
5 o'clock that afternoon.
Just saying.
Well done.
The first vodka I would drink straight.
Yeah, it was good. Excellent.
50
to 30, you really can't argue with much. I mean,
Nope.
But this is the post-game overreaction show, and what I love about this is that Kirby can look at this team and say, boys, that defense was putrid, and it really was at times. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I have never rooted for my team in this fashion, okay? It was 50-23. And they scored that bullcrap touchdown where we had the guy, and he threw that. I don't know what Keely Ringo just fell asleep on that play, and he hit the guy in the back of the end zone. And it was 50-30. I was screaming and beating on my chair because they just scored 30 points. That's where we are as a fan base. I was literally upset by that. Okay, and by no means is like we're going to lose the game. It's style points at that point, right? But that's where we are as a fan base now. To go back to what the previous caller was saying, I forgot his name. I'm sorry about
Rico.
Okay, Rico. And I understand what everybody's going to say. They're going to crap all over Keely Ringo. They're going to crap all over Malachi Starks. And granted, our cornerbacks did not have a good game today. But I need to ask Brent Rollins this because he's the expert. But I'll throw it out to you two guys. I think the plan in this game, well, he is. I mean, he's the expert. I think the plan in this game was they thought Jaden Daniels was going to be healthy and he could kill them with his legs. So it was not a all-out blitz, go after him. It was kind of a, I don't know what you call it, kind of a slow type of blitz. And Jaden Daniels was not healthy. Well, they couldn't just change that on the fly. And that continued with the backup quarterback. It was a slow type of blitz. And that killed him because he picked them apart. Am I wrong about that?
No, yeah, I definitely noticed that. The blitz was coming. It was just very slow. So there was time back there. And I don't know if that's what was on purpose, but the pass rush wasn't getting home. And you could see it kind of from the bird's eye view that we had in the press box that, yeah, they were sending guys. They just weren't getting home. And so what was happening was you had your corners having to play a little bit longer in that man coverage, and it ended up not working out. I'm curious, though. I mean, this is, like I said, to kind of open the show, this is another backup quarterback that obviously Georgia knew Jaden Daniels was going, right? I think everybody did.
So, he looked good to start. I mean, hey,
yeah, he did. He did. And then the play he came out on.
Everybody that gave me shit about calling the game, I picked Georgia to win by 9. They're like, they're going to blow them out.
Right. And
you were nervous the way they drove down the field and scored, and they looked really good. Then all of a sudden, Tramel Walter lands on his ankles and he's a little nippy and he gets worse as the game goes on. This is not a bad team. They're not terrible. And then again, a backup quarterback comes inside in a championship game.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've seen this play before. So
but that's my point. I think they prepared all week for Jaden Daniels, right? And much like they did going into the game against Alabama when the backup came in, they prepared for a different quarterback, and it was a different type of quarterback. And they couldn't just change on the fly and say, okay, we need to do this now, right? It was kind of
But here's the problem with that, though, is that they were passing only. That's all they were doing.
Yeah,
they were just passing, and so the right man Chaya gives us $2 here. He says it's called delayed blitz. Absolutely, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. And they were passing only, so you get into pass formations, and you should be able to stop that. But Nussmeier looked like at times like Joey B out there.
Yeah.
Like he looked really good throwing balls on dots. Like, why could you not stop that? And then the one time they run the ball, I forgot what it was. It was their longest rush of the day, though.
47 yards.
Yeah, 47 yards.
But they had no other rushes that were beyond 10 yards.
Yeah,
so
because they realized, hey, we got to pass the ball to get back in it, and they were picking on guys.
You do your defense, all of a sudden you're only rushing 3. When you're doing that delayed blitz. On Keely Ringo's, and I argued with Coach Don about this, and I'll always take his side because I thought the Keely Ringo was in man all the way down the field, and when the guy got to the end and ran across the back of the end zone for the touchdown, that Keely stopped. But the second angle showed that he's passing off to Malachi Starks.
So it was zone.
At the deep center in that zone, and he wasn't there. So there was like, oh my God, Keely. Now Keely Ringo had some bad plays. I'm not here to defend Keely Ringo because he jumped early on one ball that could have been a pick. He got turned around, pass interference calls. He's had a bunch of them this year. He has some issues. Point being, though, when we're going to crap on him for that last touchdown in the back of the end zone, that was zone. That's supposed to be Malachi Starks back there. When all of a sudden they were facing a crazy passing attack with a very accurate quarterback, the guy was looking really good. That was a serious. You can adjust to it, but every adjustment they made, he still picked them apart. He got him in zone, he got him in man, and I think Kirby's not trying to cover. He's just trying to win. So he's going to let him say, look, let's go soft and try to keep in front of him. And what did they do? They still went deep, even against your designed trying to keep things up front. So
I have a question for both you guys because Derek Walker brings up a good point. He says, man, I was glad we had a 3-possession lead when Nussmeier came in. What if you didn't? I mean, would this game be different? Because he was moving.
Would he have attacked like
correct? That's what I'm also getting at too. Would it have been that same type of game plan? I don't think so. So you look at it that way. It's like they knew that they were passing the ball. Everybody knew they were passing the ball on every play. If he starts the game, I think they obviously have a different game plan, and so does Georgia, right?
Exactly.
So to give Georgia credit, they would have a different game plan for him than they did for Jaden Daniels. So
I got a question for both of you guys. The 2-point conversion, was that a scoring thing, or was that we're getting a 50 burger right here?
The numbers tell you to go for 50 so that you're up by 20.
That's what we're up by what? You're up by what?
We did the math in this press box, so you're up by 27 as opposed to 26. So they can go for 8 3 times and then get a field goal, and you're still tied. So you're up by a ton of points. So you're up by 4 possessions at that point, given that they get all their scores. Gary
Danielson pointed out on the broadcast that Brian Kelly's going to store that away, and he's going to go after Kirby because that was not right. That was classless, basically, is what he was saying.
I mean, you saw. Yeah, you saw what it meant something to Todd Monken, right? Because you saw on the TV broadcast that he was ecstatic after the 2-point, and I think there's a couple of things at play with that 2-point conversion, and both of you can correct me if I'm wrong. Not only do you get 80 Mitchell involved. I mean, after he threw that pass, he went over to the sidelines and jumped 6 feet off the ground. And
so did I.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
So you get 80 involved. and you get his, emotions in the right spot.
Yeah.
And then you also get Darnell involved. So you get both of those guys involved who are going to be very big to you moving forward. Yep. And you also scored a 50-burger, and you brought out a trick play. I mean, there was no downside to that. Now, let's think. If Georgia won 49-30, would we be looking at this game any differently? Probably not. But it is really cool when you score 50 points. Like that's like that's a big deal. So I think there's a lot of things that play there. But you got AD involved, you got Darnell involved. They're happy. So
but the more interesting thing, Eddie, before we let you go, is that Kirby in the post-game press conference said they had never repped that with AD Mitchell.
Really?
They had never repped
it. I think it was Kirby, or it might have been Stetson Bennett, but one of them said we've never repped that with him. So you want to see why the guy who's up for the most valuable assistant coach award, definitely the final two guys, in my opinion, is cheering, is because a guy who had not repped it was able to complete the pass to Darnell Washington. So,
wow,
that's unbelievable. How did they even know he could throw the ball?
He's a football player, man. Come on.
Well, I know, but I mean, come on, Roddy. I mean, you know what I mean. They haven't repped it. You never know.
How well, I would like him to work to show Stetson Bennett how not to overthrow a 6'8" tight end.
Well, hey, now Stetson had that touchdown to Darnell early, so
that was a beautiful pass.
It was and Brent Rollins called it. We were in the press box. He said Darnell. He just yelled out Darnell's name, and then you just saw it float over, and I was like, yep, there he is.
And he said it. Brent Rollins said Stetson should be in the Heisman conversation at this point, and it's such a shame because Brock Bowers is literally the best player in college football, and he's not going to get even a mention because there's been several games where he has like very few catches.
Yeah,
or
2 catches for 20 yards.
The blocking, the downfield blocking, throw the ball in his area, he makes the catch, gets 10 yards after he gets hit. The guy's the best player in college football, period.
Yep. These headphones are the worst.
So
they did.
Oh, I'm sure. Hey, and also what happened? They started chasing points early on. LSU had tried it, so he's like, "Look, you can try it. Well, we'll try ours." And what are you doing? This is why I was a little annoyed they didn't bring, and we'll bring in John T. and Anthony here in a minute. I was a little annoyed they didn't bring in Beck earlier because I'm like, look, okay, you've got this game well in hand. Now's a good time to try your 2-point conversion. I wish they hadn't given that play away, but I'll bring in these other guys, get them prepped, try everything you're going to need to beat Michigan or Ohio State or TCU or whoever you're facing in the playoffs. You got a nice lead. Now work on the stuff you need to work on. So
I know y'all are going to move on, and I appreciate that, and thank you for letting me on. Who do we play next round?
TCU.
You think so? Yeah. Not Ohio State? Do you think no?
No, I kind of went through it, but I mean, this is about the best teams for one. I think TCU is the 4th best team, and it also.
Well, wait. Gary said Alabama's one of the best 4 teams.
No, they're not. They're not.
But they're trying to talk something into existence. Now, I jokingly on radio on Friday said they asked me, what are Georgia fans looking for when you're watching TCU and USC? I said. They want both those teams to win because Georgia wants to play TCU. They want to play USC. That just makes it your path to the championship easier. You don't want to get Ohio State or Alabama into it. I don't care if they're ranked 5 and 6.
Roddy,
what's going to happen is they're both going to lose, or we're going to see Ohio State and Alabama in the title. And I was joking. Ohio State's going to be there, and again, I will believe that Alabama is not going to be in the playoffs when I see their cold dead corpse on the side of the road. Okay,
that's right. I agree with you.
Just because of muscle memory on the fact of that playoff committee, it's like, well, don't we always pick Alabama no matter what?
There's no shot in hell that you get 2 Big Ten teams in and 2 SEC teams in when you have one-loss teams like
I agree. I'm
TCU.
Just saying.
I'm with Roddy. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, you'll see it. When's the show's tomorrow, right? Show's tomorrow at noon. You'll see it tomorrow at noon. It's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and TCU. So.
All right. Appreciate it, Eddie. We're going to bring on John next.
See you, man.
I love it. That's awesome. Eddie's always a trip. We got John.
What's up, Big John?
What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for waiting, John. We appreciate it. And T and Anthony and Dane, we see you guys in the comment section. We'll bring you in a minute. So,
you talk about Georgia taking the next step or being an elite program. I can remember in 2017. Like this was like a pinnacle. Today was. And then it had been 12 years, right? I think 05 was the last time we'd won it. I mean, we were ecstatic now, and I think it's great. But what we've come and what Kirby's built as a program, this is just another stepping stone to a season. And like you said on the,
isn't that weird?
I'll be honest with you, I feel guilty. I mean, 2017, I couldn't even talk right now. And not, you know what I mean? You're talking about libations, especially in 05, but like, I think that's okay. And I like you said on the show with Coach Don, and I think you have to enjoy it, obviously. But you can even tell, like, with Coach and the players, they were happy, but it's another stepping stone. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for that, and I think it's okay to feel that way.
John, I agree with you 100%. And actually, in my predictions, one of the reasons I predicted the game to be tighter than it was because this game meant so much more to LSU. Right. They had just lost to Texas A&M, who had only had one SEC win. This was a team, they're like, look, if we win the SEC in year one under Brian Kelly.
Oh, God almighty.
Dude, parades in Baton Rouge, just LSU's back is just wild. And, the belief and the recruiting bump they would get, this was their Super Bowl. They needed this game. Right. Georgia wanted this game, but didn't need it. Because what is Georgia looking at? We got 15 bowl practices, maybe with a couple guys who enroll early towards the end there. Georgia wants to win, so they are guaranteed to be back in Atlanta on the 31st. But you're right. It's just like last year was a crazy season, but you learned that you didn't need the SEC title because an SEC ring is nice, but that national championship ring is huge. So I'm with you, John. It's like, and I actually mentioned that, remember, was it 2011 when Georgia was just happy to be there?
Right.
You boat raced them.
Yeah.
But this kind of way it felt for LSU. We're happy to be here. Oh, my God, Georgia's here. Crap. Right. But I'm with you. It's weird. This is a golden age. When they showed that graphic of where teams are, with these crazy win streaks. Come on.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to bring this up. It says Dr. Greg Steele says Kirby was not happy a ton of fans didn't stay until the end. I could see that because there was a ton of fans leaving with like 2 minutes left. And I even looked at Jed and I was like, you stayed the whole game. Don't you want to watch this celebration? So to kind of your point, John, traffic. It's almost well, yeah, but you're not beating the traffic here in Atlanta. I mean, but it ties into your point, John, a little bit because back in 2017, you're so happy, and then this year there's fans leaving with like I said, like 3-4 minutes left. They're like, after Robert Beal forced that fumble, the whole stadium cleared out, and I was like, hold on, don't you want to watch the SEC championship? Right. Okay, all right. Guess nobody wants to.
They're gonna rush home and buy their tickets for LA.
I guess, man. Like I said, you're not beating this traffic.
Well, which leads me to my next point, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Quick, Heisman. I'm a diehard dog fan my entire life. I've never taken any credence into the Heisman, and I'm not trying to offend you guys if you're voters. When Ron Dane beat Joe Hamilton for that Heisman, I quit. In '99, I quit. That was one of the biggest fraud in sports. And again, diehard dog fan, but Joe Hamilton got robbed. So I've never given a whole lot of credence to the Heisman. But if Stetson Bennett is at least not sitting in a chair and they're doing that cute little piece about him down in Blackshear that they do for every guy there, I think it is a bigger crock of shit than it already is. And that's no offense to you guys if you're voters. But he deserves it. I'm not saying he should win, even though I do believe he should win. But he should be sitting in a seat next Saturday night in New York, in my opinion.
Hey, John, you're 100% right. I don't think it'll happen because and I'm not a Heisman voter. I remember, though, I'm old enough to remember when basically you could apply to be one and you could just be anybody. And a bunch of journalists jumped in and they filled out a little form, and all of a sudden they were new Heisman voters. It was not this huge vetting process. So I know some Heisman voters who got in when they basically had open calls to be a Heisman voter. It was bad. My point is, they basically it's a popularity contest. They love stats and they love a narrative, and so that's why Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and Gary Daniels and all these guys. He's making everything you watch when everybody's doing anything really good. He's making a great case for the Heisman. They are easily led. You know why these internet influencers, TikTok influencers get paid so much money and the Instagram influencers get so much money? Who are the suckers that fall for the Kim Kardashian lip gloss? Heisman voters. They're the easiest people to lead by the nose, to vote the way they're supposed to. And how's everybody doing it? And then they like to go out, here's my Heisman vote after it's over, like they did this great analysis.
Right.
If we're going just off the numbers, it'd be going to North Carolina.
Right.
Just telling you. You're right to not give that any credence. And Stetson, I mean, Stetson has some boneheaded plays every game, John. I know you've watched it. You know I say this every week. But he had 4 touchdowns tonight. Never got touched. Didn't even have to run it that much. In the SEC championship, he's led his team to a national title. 30-1? Come on.
Yeah.
John, before we let you go, I wanted to let you know, Heisman odds right now, Caleb Williams is the clear front runner. This was as of today, so minus 2,200 for Caleb Williams, and you got Max Duggan plus 2,000, Stetson plus 3,000, and C.J. Stroud plus 5,000. So they're bringing 4 people to New York this year. Stetson's right up there with it.
Yeah. And let me say, I'm sorry, one more thing.
You're good.
All right, so it's very obvious that college football is controlled by money. ESPN, and I'm not scared of playing anybody. But as a college football fan, watch every game, in the middle of February on a Saturday wishing for a game, so you watch them all. I will not spend my New Year's Eve. They've already said that the Peach Bowl is the first game, right? So
4 o'clock.
Ohio State. And again, I hope we get to play Ohio State. But that TV will lose. People will go to the New Year's party. And I remember the first year of the playoff when they marketed that. Oh, it's New Year's Eve, and they did the whole and they lost it. I forget who it was. It may have been when Michigan State got railroaded by Alabama that year or whatever. But talk about what a bore fest that'll be. From a money standpoint, to your point, I think Ohio State's going to jump to you and have that rematch. You'll have Georgia you early, and then you'll have that rematch to draw everybody in at night.
Yep, I 1,000% agree.
Right, John, good points. I think you nailed it there. Absolutely. Hey, John, don't be a stranger. We need you on the show because you bring up some damn good points. Love it. All right, John, we'll see you later. We got T. Howard, Anthony Spano, and Damon Young.
Before we get T in here, I want to get to this donation we got. Another $5 in euros. Stefan from Germany calling. Who or what is Clemson? I know Crimson Tide versus LSU or some stuff in Michigan. Stefan, this is the Georgia Postgame Overreaction show. Clemson is in South Carolina to answer that, and I appreciate your money. Thank you so much. Next person.
Hey, Clemson is a team that gets overrated every year, and
yeah. Bring in T. Howard. T, what's going on, man?
Look at that big stogie.
Hold up, man. Your mic's muted. Let's unmute you there. Oh, we can't unmute you. You got to unmute yourself.
My bad. I'm in here. What's up, Rowdy? What's up, man? What's up? How y'all doing tonight, man?
Doing good, T.
Yeah, y'all kind of caught me unexpected for a second. I was like, I thought there was a line ahead of me. I'm like, but okay, I ain't gonna lie. I don't have much introspective things to say. You know what I mean? I just wanted to come on here because I love y'all's show. I love all the content. On YouTube is where I mainly follow it. So I just figured I'd jump in. But man, how great is it to have a quarterback, just with I heard some people just with the nuts that Stetson has, like he lays it out, don't he? Like he's just a real dog, man. And I just love it. Like it makes me, I'm always proud. I'm here in Jacksonville in Florida, and I always got on red and black everywhere I go. But it's like I don't think I can remember a quarterback that even that we've had, man, in my 30 years anyways, that I felt so confident in him. Or, you know what I mean? Like, he's just a dog, and I feel like the defense got exposed. I don't even want to talk about Keely. I don't even want to talk about Keely out there, but I think there was a good point made that, yeah, like we were kind of just trying to keep everything underneath. But even then, like, I mean, it wasn't all underneath. But I think that's also a credit to that backup for them. Honestly, I don't know how y'all felt. I was like, dang, we might have been better off that he was back up going into the game, right? Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, shoo. But I kind of want to mirror what the last guy said too, because I mean, I just noticed one thing about this team. I know it's a different group of guys, but one thing about Kirby's teams, at least in the most recent couple years, we have different types of wins, but ultimately they're usually wins. You know what I mean? So if they are planning for Ohio State, or I mean, I don't know. I haven't really. I watched that TCU game today, but I don't really subscribe too much to them. Michigan, they're more of like a ground and pound type of offense too, from what I understand. So
Georgia matches up well with Michigan. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, but I don't know. And then there's always the thing too in the back of my mind, like really, I mean, Keely's gonna make a play. He didn't today. Thank God for Christopher Smith, because that last one that Chris got, I don't know about y'all, but I don't think I didn't take a breath the whole time he dropped back and I saw he was looking deep. I'm like, oh my God, but I'm proud of him, man. And just to double what I was saying, like, about Stetson, he's just, I don't know, man. He's just a different breed. And I think, I don't really care about the Heisman. I think it's a popularity kind of thing at points. But I don't know. Who do you want, a guy that can sling? I mean, look at Hooker was a front runner for that. You know what I mean? And you saw Stetson go out there and outshine him. You seen Stetson outshine Bryce Young. You know what I mean? And he might not be the, as great of an actual quarterback as those guys, but I'll take a guy with fight and with heart, any day. Honestly, yeah. He's a dog. He's a dog.
Like they say that they keep showing that meme of a guy's X-rays and got the lungs, and he's got that dog
in him. Yeah.
Yeah. Stetson Bennett, you're right. He does have that dog in him. He was. We just shared on Twitter a bunch of folks over at the Alabama message boards. They are dying. They hate Stetson Bennett so much because he's doing the explosion things and gun things. They're so cocky. I want to see him knocked into the ground, and they were just absolutely so salty. And I'm like, okay. And now here's the funny thing. The newest complaint is that he's so old. He's 25. Of course, he should be killing these 18, 19, 20-year-old players. I'm like, man, y'all are always looking for something to beat the kid up over. But remember, he was a walk-on, and everyone wondered, hey, hand up, who said he should just ride off into the sunset, after winning a national title last year from going to walk-on to this? I'm like, dude, there's nothing you can do to increase the legend of the mailman. Come on,
except go 13-0.
Except for get an SEC championship too,
Yeah, he didn't have an SEC ring. Now he's got it. So no matter what happens in the playoffs, whatever, he led Georgia to another 13-0 run, and he got an SEC ring. So he's got the Natty ring, he's got the SEC ring, he's got an SEC East ring from last year. That is an impressive thing. I thought he should go right off into the sunset, but when I asked him after he rode with the Blue Angels, I'm like, why are you sticking around? He said, I'd have to go do something this year. I could go play in the NFL, but I want as many years playing football as possible. I could do one more year of college. Who wouldn't do that? To come back and be the unquestioned starter, T, I think you nailed it. He's got that dog in him, man.
I mean, and that's another. To that same point, like he loves this university. He loves those guys on that team. Like, I don't know if you guys. I know you're in the stadium, Roddy. I don't know if you was watching it. But, on the CBS broadcast, when she was interviewing him, that was the first question she asked in the second interview. But in the first interview, he went straight to, I love the, this is my team. These are my brothers. And you could just tell, man, like, I hate to say it, like, I don't want to, you know, I think he could be a starter in NFL. I always felt like he's gonna get with Stetson though, he's gonna be better for it, just like how his college career was. You know, going into the NFL, I think he'll be successful. He's gonna have to take his licks at first. He's gonna obviously, you know, I don't think anybody's gonna take him and throw him in day one starter, but I feel comfortable with saying I think he'll be on the bench, you know, and you know how the NFL is too, not for long. So
yeah,
when he gets that chance to step up, like that's what I want in a guy that's taking the reins over on my team. So I you know, I'm honestly, I'm glad he stayed, you know,
no,
because
yeah.
and I don't get me wrong too. Now look, I love me some Beck. Now he's from my hometown, you know, he's from over there in Orange Park, but you know, Stetson, man,
Wait, is he from the good part of Orange Park or the scary part of Orange Park?
Hey, look, Orange Park is Jacksonville is so far apart, man. I'm probably 30 minutes from Orange Park, bro. I don't even know much about it.
Hey, there are great football players come out of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I've been to Yulee, I've been to Trinity, I've been to Orange Park, I've been to all the schools over there. There's some good football there. You saw what he did to win the state title. Carson Beck's guy. I want to see him in there tonight. Bring him in, let him do some stuff. You brought in all those second teamers on the defense.
Yeah, I was a little curious about that. I mean, you know, I don't think Stetson threw a pass on. Did he throw it? I mean, we didn't throw it. We just ran the ball.
He had like 2 completions in the second half.
Yeah, I think he was 4 or 5 in the second half, but yeah.
4 or 5. Okay.
But them last couple drives, I was thinking, you know, but you think that fumble though? You think that fumble is what kept Beck back there?
No, I think Kirby's just going to keep the pedal to the metal, man.
Because they were talking about.
But Beck could have handed it off just as well.
That's true too. That's why I'm like, I wonder why, you know, but man, but yeah, look, man, I waited 30 years of my life. 29 and a half basically, but you know, and it was a lot of suffering, you know. I mean, I know anybody in this feed, in this chat, you know, y'all know that feeling more than anybody else in the world, just like I do. You know, we were in it together though, and man, it's real sweet now, you know, and
it is. Hi,
you know, I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for having me. I'm about to blow this stogie down and celebrate. You know,
there you go, T.
I have 2 more, and I'll be back. You know, I'll be back.
That's why you gotta buy them in packs of 3, man. You know.
Yeah, you know. Well, it was quick, man. I just ran to the gas station after school.
That's
all right. I'll tell him next time. Roddy told me I got to get 3. So
there. Right, thanks, T.
They're gonna be like, Roddy, my cousin.
Oh, damn! You went there.
Hey, you give me all the time.
Yeah, that's 2. That's a racist BS, man. That hurts my feelings.
Anthony, what's up,
true. I mean,
I mean, you act like it's not, but
I mean, truth is truth.
Yeah.
Roddy, how's my hair?
It's glorious.
Glorious. Okay. Now,
Paul, I hate it.
But Paul, I told you I had something special for you after the SEC championship game, but Amazon didn't deliver it. Thanks, Jeff. Whatever.
Oh man.
I know, but I've got props ordered and all that stuff. So I guess I'll have to wait for after the first playoff game win.
Okay. Yeah. Don't ruin the surprise. Don't ruin the surprise.
No, I won't. So I was listening to the Godfather, Eddie.
Yeah.
Great commentary, stuff like that.
Yep.
Last caller, I'm sorry I didn't remember his name, but he was talking about Stetson Bennett. T. My father told me, old Sicilian, you know, he was born 5 hours after they got off the boat in Ellis Island, right? And he used to tell me, he said, if you want to sit at the head of the table, you got to be willing to pay the bill. And that's what Stetson Bennett is.
Oh,
I like that.
Like it?
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Say that one more time. Say that one more time. Like you're in a pulpit. Say it one more time for me.
No, I don't.
I legit like it. I like it.
Yeah, no, and I'll say it. My father didn't have like a Sicilian accent. My grandfather did, but he said,
okay, yeah.
If you want to sit at the head of the table, you got to be willing to pay the bill.
This is true.
And that's it.
I like that a lot.
All right. So thinking along those lines, Stetson Bennett came back to do more than just repeat as a national champion. He wanted to, and I think Roman Harper said it on the SEC Network tonight. He said he's setting a precedent for all kids that come up through the state of Georgia that want to be a football player, not just a quarterback, to go, regardless on star rankings and all that stuff. But he said, I want to be like that guy. That's the guy I want to be like. I want to be the guy that maybe some people turn down, and I put my heart and soul into it. But I was the one that overcame it. Whatever everybody else says, but I was on the team that won X amount of games, or I won this game or that game. And it can matriculate down through the course of his life, which is great. But I want to say one thing. Stetson Bennett may have won the MVP tonight, but Jalen Carter took home 2 trophies. He took home the SEC championship, and he took Jaden Daniels in the duffel bag with him.
Yeah, he did.
I guarantee you he went over to that tent after the end and he goes, let me get my shit. I'm going home.
Hey,
that's my bitch now.
So I tweeted out that, again, that was the most dominant single play I've ever seen. I mean, and people will be like, oh, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
Picked up another human being, a SEC starting quarterback, as if he were a child, and held
one arm and threw his hand in the air like he was stone cold.
I mean, when my son was 8 years old, I couldn't pick him up like that. I'm just saying. and I was like yelling at the screen, don't plan him. Dane Young will be on next, and Dane could tell you I was thinking he was just going to oh, God, what can I think of it? God High from Alec Ogletree.
Yeah.
God High, Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Planted him in the dirt.
From Georgia Tech
broke his spine.
Georgia Tech on the 50-yard line. Yeah.
I thought he was going to suplex him, but he just held him there and just starts grinning. And even Jade's like, man, there's the famous photo of David Pollock stripping Pickens in the end zone of South Carolina, where he just basically gets a sack, touchdown. I think me and Brant Sandlin are the only people who got that photograph, because everybody's looking downfield. It's hanging up in the Buttsmere building. People go, that's why he was a 3-time All-American. It was plays like that. I'm just telling you, that play of getting to the quarterback, punking offensive linemen, and snatching up the quarterback as if you were 18-year-old playing amongst the 7 and 8-year-olds, 8 under football, and you just walked in there and grabbed him, like you're again, just a little league game. Like, that is just embarrassing, man. That was
before we let Anthony go, though. That play was embarrassing, but also there were a couple more plays in this game that I've never seen before. So the interception off of the LSU football player's head, everybody in the press box thought that ball hit the ground. And then you watch the replay, and you're like, oh, my God, it hit the guy's head? What a heads-up play. What a heady play, and pun intended there, right? The other play was Chris Smith on that field goal block. So as we could see it up in the press box, we're behind them on that play. So you see Chris Smith go over to it. You see Smile Monday come up to him. And he's like, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Chris looked over to the sidelines, and I told Jed to ask Chris if we could. I don't know if Chris was one of the guys to talk today, but who told him to pick it up? Somebody did on the sideline. And then
he looked at the ref to see if he blew the whistle dead.
Was that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But even Todd Monken is in the press box yelling, Peter. You can see it, but you read his.
Hold the phone, Anthony. We are doing a live show, and you just lit a cigarette with a Bunsen burner.
No, my lighter ran out. Sorry. There was a bat in here earlier, and I was trying to get it out.
With a handheld,
I was trying to get it out.
Torch.
Did you just hear how that sounded? You didn't hear how that.
What?
I mean,
there was a bat.
I know, just for the people that are listening to the podcast.
Was a bat?
That wasn't us. That was.
I'm not getting COVID, you sons of bitches.
yeah.
No,
COVID 22.
He hit my hat. Look, I have my good luck hat on. He hit it off my head twice in here. So I grabbed this while I was waiting for you guys. And he kept swinging around the garage, and I grabbed the blowtorch, and I started swinging. It was cold.
Oh, I'm telling you, hey.
I'm sorry.
Them gummies is the shit.
God. my god!
I'm just gonna tell you, the Rogue Shop gummies. That's some good
I want
stuff
my
there.
wife to try those.
Dude, hey, if she has issues sleeping, or she has any pain issues, or she just wants to have a good time, try the Delta 8 or Delta 9 gummies. The
Honey, you need to try the Delta 8 or Delta 9 gummies.
There you go. Say, look, hey, and the people who can't sleep, grab these CBN sleep gummies or 100 milligrams. Again, only try half one. Give it some time. They are fantastic. Now they got free shipping on anything over $75. Trust me, you can spend a lot of money getting fun stuff here. They have the Delta 8, the 50 milligram ones. I'm sure I got my those are good. Again, try half one before you pop the whole one. Give it 20, 30 minutes. See what you think. It's great stuff. And if you have pain, any sort of pain, you can grab any of the full spectrum salves that they have. Those are great for any inflammation you have. It's a good anti-inflammatory. So try the different ones. And hey, it's Christmas time. They have hot chocolate. Try the CBD.
No chance. They have CBD hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And Delta 8 hot chocolate. That's wild.
That's the one I want to tell you. There's 40 milligrams of that. So if you're like, I don't like the hard candy stuff, and they've been out of the hard candy. But let me tell you that this. I was talking to Richard out there. He was having an issue with one of his vendors because they grow all this stuff themselves. So he does these quality control tests, and they were out of the sleep gummies for the longest time because the batch came off, and he looks at them and goes, I don't think those are right. So the guy is very, very particular when it comes to quality control. He's a freak about it. This is not an industry that has people doing a lot of quality control. That is why they are different. So check out our folks at the Rogue Shop. Use promo code Bulldogs10 to get 10% off. And right now they've got a deal. They got these cool Christmas boxes, so you can get if you're not sure where to get somebody, get them one of these Christmas boxes, and anything over $75, you can get the free shipping on it. So try that when you get a chance. Anyway, didn't mean to get sidetracked there. What were we talking about?
Anthony.
Pay the bills, baby. You got to pay the bills.
Anthony said you got to pay the bills. Kill the bats with a blowtorch, and he was
making a point before the blowtorch thing, and I completely lost my train of thought.
No. But what I want to say.
What were you saying?
What I want to say. We were talking about the last caller T, talking about the Heisman. If Brock Bowers is not in New York, you're talking about the best player in college football.
But that's not what this award is, dude. That's not what this award is.
I know.
You know that.
He's not. He's a cyborg.
Yeah.
He is. He's a cyborg.
Yeah, but the problem is they use him in certain situations and they don't use him in certain situations. Today he went 6 of 81 with a touchdown.
But he wasn't even on the first series. I don't know if you guys noticed that. He wasn't even in the first series of the game today.
I know what I'm saying is, though, some games, the reason he's not in Heisman contention this year, at least, is some games he gets, 2 targets for 20 yards. Next year,
look, the last 4 games or last 3 or 4 games, all totaled, he had less than 100 yards.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kick him off. Go to the transfer portal. You don't need it.
They're loading up the guy from Notre Dame. They're throwing to him and going, he's the best one out there. I'm like, okay. You think he's the best one? When you're again going back to Little League football and you're picking teams, who are you picking first? Taking Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you might even take Darnell Washington over Michael Mayer too.
I would in a heartbeat. And that dude, I got so much grief from Notre Dame people because I said the top 2 tight ends. Georgia has the top 2 tight ends in the nation, and the Notre Dame people went nuts. And then the Utah people started in. I'm like, I don't care. I will fight y'all on this hill. I'm telling you.
We'll see.
Kincaid from Utah is not too bad, but he's still a very close. He's still not even a close third.
No, again, and a lot of the national pundits started weighing in. No, that the question is, not versus 1 or 2, but both of those are better than Darnell. I mean, at that point, he didn't even have Darnell didn't even have a touchdown on the season. I'm like, I tell y'all where he's going to go in the draft.
Yeah.
So
he's a tackle that can catch passes. So.
Hey, Eddie, before we let you go, because I want to bring some other folks on, or not Eddie, Anthony, Eddie, the Godfather, wrote. He said, "Good Lord, Anthony using a butane torch for bats and lung darts. That's all you need right there, baby. That's all you need."
The Godfather, baby. Hey, everybody, I'm going to leave now. Everybody hit like and subscribe. And like I said, Paul, I'm not done with you yet. You're still wrong. Roddy, you guys kick ass. I love you.
See you, man.
Deuces.
God, he's awesome, man. He's really awesome. He is the man. Dane, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? I like how you've redecorated your house, Paul.
You like that? It's a little, open, a little more open.
Open floor plan, yeah.
Open floor plan, yeah. The roof, we've done some things to the roof.
Yeah.
We've made it to where, the sun can get in at times.
Well, I mean, with the child that's coming, you have to upgrade for the space.
Yeah, thank you for shouting that out. Yeah, thank you so much for shouting that out, Dane. Because there's a guy in here.
Did Roddy not do that?
I've been on the show for 70 minutes and he has not. No.
Oh.
But thank you, Dane.
Well, if the kid was yours, I'd be all over it, man.
So that you're getting me back for the gas station joke right there. Okay, we're even, baby. We're even. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Just say, dude, if you come with the king, you better kill him.
Not miss. You best not miss. Okay. But no, yeah, thank you, Dane. We're having a little boy. We found out Monday the sex of it and couldn't be more happy. So I'm ecstatic. Yeah. So what's up, Big Dane?
So Georgia won the SEC championship, and Tennessee's offensive coordinator is leaving to become the head coach at South Florida.
What?
So,
hold on. Start that back again, please.
Georgia won the SEC championship.
I got that part.
While you've been on air, Brett McMurphy is reporting that Alex Golish is taking the head coaching job at South Florida.
Really?
Right in the volunteer.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's interesting. That's really
a fun
interesting
spot for Georgia to be in, to where Tennessee's offensive coordinator is leaving right now, and Clemson has gone to its second quarterback. So I would imagine that means DJ Uiagalelei will be in the portal and playing somewhere else next year.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Also,
so hold on. So in the ACC championship is right now.
Yeah, and Klubnik is playing.
So DJU is. You heard it here first. DJU's donezo at Clemson. He'll be in the portal by tomorrow.
He was on a short leash tonight. We knew that from our reporting over at Larry Williams over at our Clemson site. He's like, it's getting tougher and tougher to justify him playing.
There's all kind of hell breaking loose, though, because our friend JG Tate at the Auburn site reporting that it looks like Hugh Freeze is targeting Phil Longo, North Carolina's current offensive coordinator, then run over to Auburn and join Hugh Freeze as their offensive coordinator.
And then apparently, also while we're on TV right now, or on YouTube right now, Saban is on TV on the halftime show on Fox. Basically, for what reason, you ask? Well, he's Nick Saban, and he's trying to get into the heads of those college football playoff committee members right here at the end of the night, especially because he knows they're all watching this game.
He had a quote in a story on ESPN.com where he was saying that they should account for who would be the favorites and underdogs on all these hypothetical matchups. And I'm like, oh, so now you care about point spreads and what media. Okay. Now he's playing the game. He gets it.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me that, I don't know if you call it fair or unfair. Maybe it's because he's the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban, that he gets to do this type of thing. But it's the halftime show of the Big Ten championship. Am I correct? That's what's on Fox right now, right?
Yeah. And that's
why
a close game, by the way? Like,
why is Nick Saban, an SEC head football coach, on at halftime of that game? It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, well, he, I guess he's Nick Saban, so he gets to do what he wants, but it doesn't make much sense. So, and Justin in the chat says Nick Saban has a very good point. Alabama would definitely be favored over TCU, but again, we're not talking about Vegas, right, Dave?
Oh, I think the best three teams in the country are Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State. But I don't think that should be the rankings.
Ooh.
But that's where the most talent on the teams are.
Yeah.
So
speaking of offensive coordinators leaving, Dane, our friend Uncle Sam in the chat says, I hope someone has a copy of Monken's playbook before he gets hired by another team. So, yeah, you would hope that maybe on the way back home today they – stop by the copy machine, Office Max, and copy that thing.
All right, look. Yes, valid. And I know this is going to make some people squirm, but if that comes to pass, like, Georgia's already prepped for this.
Yeah,
Just
Mike
like
Bobo's on the sidelines.
When it prepped for Dan Lanning, likely getting a head coaching job because he was on that trajectory. Will Muschamp's an analyst, although he was more than an analyst. And who's also an analyst and kind of more than an analyst? Mike Bobo. And I know some people will like recoil at some of that, but like Mike Bobo's a really good offensive mind too, and super experienced. So, man, like relish the fact that Georgia's the SEC champion and went undefeated. That's really hard to do what Georgia just did. Like you look back a lot of these Alabama seasons, they rarely have gone undefeated for an entire season. And so regardless of what happens from this point forward, I think this is a successful season for Georgia. Like random things can happen and you can lose a game and people would be disappointed if Georgia does. Totally get it, because Georgia's going to be favored and should be favored from here on out the last 2 games. But this is a successful season regardless of what happens from this point on.
Hey, Dane, my wife never watches the shows, but she's watching because I'm not home, right? And she said, love how Dane said congrats on the baby. So thank you.
You see.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Dave.
You know, one time me and you, Paul, we were kind of butting heads a little bit. Will Levis got in between us, but we're good now. He moved out of the way, and
there you go. There you go. Roddy hates this so much. He'd rather be anywhere but here right now.
I did look while I was
another gender reveal.
I thought this was interesting for y'all's Heisman conversation, and then I'll jump off of this and let y'all do your thing. So I check DraftKings every so often, not legal in Georgia, which I'll have a special podcast series coming about the legality of sports gambling in Georgia. That's coming up later, probably next week. All year long, it's just had a list of people so you can waste your money and give DraftKings your money and not get it back. Now it's down to 4. So I'm assuming these are the finalists. Like,
it's got to be, right? It's got to be.
To me, this is what they probably
for 2 weeks.
Caleb Williams is the heavy favorite. Max Duggan is number 2. Stetson Bennett's number 3. CJ Stroud's behind that. And that's of like 20 minutes ago. Now, could that update again?
Look, honestly, I'm fine with those. I was telling Dane, I love Max Duggan. I think he's a hell of a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
When you're watching Caleb in the first few minutes of that USC game, if they had a defense, they would be favored, to beat just about anybody they face, because that is a
really good
offense, but they do not have a defense. They're abysmal on defense, and so we know that maybe not everybody they face, but they would be a powerhouse, but they just don't have it. So I've got no problem with Caleb Williams taking the trophy. He's really good. I mean, you watch him run, you watch him throw. He is that. If he's at Oklahoma, you'd still be saying the same thing. Duggan, fantastic. Stetson's fantastic, and CJ. I'm telling you, folks, CJ will pick apart this Georgia defense in the secondary unless you get to him or do something. Now, as much as I tell people to worry about it, why was Georgia so good against Oregon? They worked on him for 9 months.
I mean, they knew Lanning's defense too.
They knew Lanning. They knew that. They also, you give Kirby time to practice all the different variations. They're really good. Why was Georgia so good against Michigan last year after they got beat in the SEC championship? 15 practices, 4 weeks to prepare for Michigan. Give Kirby time so that they can run every play 1,000 times and run it to perfection and run all the different variations off of it. So whoever Georgia faces in the first round, they're going to be really, really good, and they will also probably practice for the second team they're going to face. So CJ Stroud, I'm like, hey, the one team Georgia, it'd be easier if Georgia was playing USC instead of OSU. I'm not saying Georgia fans should be scared of Ohio State. I'm just saying your road to the championship would be easier if you were facing USC, not because Caleb Williams, but because they have no defense. So point being, I'm just going to say if you're Georgia fans, you shouldn't be worried about who you're going to face. Our CJ Stroud could win he won't win it, but that's a guy who could give you some grief. I don't think you have to worry about Duggan, because no matter how good the quarterback is, if you're going to give Kirby 15 practices to work on whatever quarterback you're facing, they worked for months on getting ready for Tennessee.
So based on those odds, I do think Caleb Williams will win the Heisman. I think Stetson Bennett will probably get the second most votes. I think he would probably surpass what the odds have as Max Duggan getting the second most
also
votes.
winning the fan vote by a fair margin.
Yeah. And there's a shot that maybe Stetson freaking wins it. Justin
says here, so does that mean Stetson Bennett will at least be in New York City? I think so.
Trust the odds makers.
Yeah.
Now
he deserves to be there, man. That's just the greatest story.
Well, and that's what I want to remind people, and then I'm jumping off here for real. Let's go back to September of 2020. Georgia is down 7-2 against Arkansas in Fayetteville. I think that was in Fayetteville, right? Or was that in Little Rock? That may have been in Little Rock. I don't remember. They're in the state of Arkansas, and Dwan Mathis has been awful. Yeah. The Georgia offense can't do a damn thing. And they toss out Stetson Bennett in there, and he leads Georgia to that first win. Yeah, and we know what happened later that season. We know that he was inconsistent. We know he went to Tuscaloosa and got roughed up. And we know that JT Daniels came in and took that job and then spurred 2 years.
Well, he took the job after the Florida game in which Stetson Bennett got hurt.
Yes, Stetson Bennett separated the shoulders, still tried to play through it, all that jazz. Go back to like the feeling of whatever that was of Stetson Bennett trotting on the field to relieve just a very ineffective Dwan Mathis. And for 2.5 years later, for him to be number 2 Heisman is pretty freaking ridiculous. And I think we all talk about it, but I don't know that we actually have like the ability to understand how he's risen in that way. And I think that legend's only going to grow with every day that passes beyond when his final game is at Georgia, which I think we all assume will be in January and not December.
No, I agree with you. That's when you look back at the whole system, and again, when you look at that pass to the flats and hit it, who was it? Hit it his feet. Stetson has some bad throws.
I think it was Dylan Bell.
Dylan Bell. Yeah. Those are Dylan Bell's feet. Like, come on, man. He has some stupid plays every time, but just like Keely Ringo, you get beat on some of them. But he's got 1 or 2 of those, but he's still no interceptions. He can run when he needs to, 4 touchdowns, and every criticism that's been thrown at him. Remember, first he was too short because all the balls were batted down. And like, he's too short to throw over the line. Well, he's as tall as Bryce Young. He throws too many interceptions. Well, he throws a lot fewer interceptions than anybody else right now. Can't win the big game. And he won a bunch of big games. Now he's too old. It's unfair because he's 25 going against 18-year-olds. I'm like, man, you guys got your heels dug in.
So that is wild, though. That is a little wild. These 25 going up against 18-year-olds. Like,
of course he's still good. In other words, if you were against him and you talked a bunch of shit about him and you ripped him nonstop, the last thing you got is, well, yeah, he's good, but he has to be because he's 25. Hey, go screw you. Give the kid a break. You doubted him. He proved you wrong. Just say, hey, I was wrong. I'm wrong on everything I say. We tease Paul. The Paul's always wrong. Trust me, I'm more wrong than that. I picked Georgia to win by 9 today. They won by 20. I was wrong.
Stetson Bennett's just a testament that, like, if you believe in yourself and have confidence, like, good things can happen from that. Like, yeah, there's a level that you don't want to be like cocky.
You're good at what you do.
But like, so many people just said he couldn't do things, and obviously his family was a great support system for him. Hell, one of the craziest things to me is that before that Michigan game last year, Todd Monken got in front of a microphone and said, "Yeah, I didn't see it with him. Like, I didn't. Like, I limited." Yeah. I had to rethink how I viewed this guy. And I'm like, you're about to play for the college football semifinal, and you're admitting this right now, which I freaking loved. Like, that was just some honesty.
Well, I'm going to yell at Todd Monken about one other thing. Some of the substitution, it's not his fault, but some of the personnel decisions Georgia's had this year don't make sense to me. Why are you running Dejan or why are you throwing to Bell? Who I'm a big fan of Bell, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, why aren't you throwing to Marcus Roseby-Jack Saint on that third down or that, why aren't you it's short yardage and you got to pick up 3rd and 1. Why are you handing it to your lightest running back? Give it to the 230-pound Kendall Milton, who had a heck of a game tonight. 100-yard first. I think it's his first 100-yard game for Kendall Milton.
It is.
So there, as much as we want everyone to say, "Hey, keep Todd Monken's playbook here," keep his playbook, but let's get rid of some of those personnel choices because those don't make a lot of sense. And I want to go back to what you're saying about when Stetson came in against Arkansas. You know how many snaps he'd had with the first string offense going into that game?
0. He was 4th string heading that year, right?
they told him before the season started, we
Go
don't see
somewhere
you
else.
getting a lot of playing time or
Yeah, go
any
somewhere
playing
else.
time. You know how they had here's the post-camp analysis of how you've done so far? If you sit there and told me after I'd busted my ass and I was the backup all last year, I was the number 2 guy, and now going into my junior year, okay, I'm still number 2, right? No, we don't see any playing time for you. We brought in this kid from USC. His name is JT. Once he's healthy, we brought in the guy from Wake Forest. He's going to be our number 1. Dwan's going to be our number 2. JT's our number 3. We don't see any playing time for you. And
Carson Beck took snaps ahead of him.
I'm like, dude, just if I'm him, I'd been like, I came back for this. I could have gone anywhere. Screw you guys. But he stuck around and he saved your bacon. So,
hey, I'll let y'all get to Jeremy. But Paul, congratulations again, man. I hope you have a very healthy young son that is a great addition to the society, and hopefully can one day grow up and kick your ass like Roddy's son kicks his ass.
Yeah, Roddy's son's a beast. My son looks like Roddy's son. I'll be very happy. So, all right, Dane.
See y'all, guys.
See you, man. Jeremy, what's up, my man?
Guys, not much, man. I'll
where's your son,
in
Jeremy?
advance. I'll apologize.
Yeah, where's
in
your
advance
son? Where's your son?
Oh, he's asleep in bed, man. We're doing this.
It's 10 o'clock. Wake him up.
We're doing this. We're doing this. I think that Ferber method where he's been giving us hell at night, guys, lately. So we're doing this Ferber method where we actually have to let him sleep it all through the night, like no more bottles, because it's been killing us on the lack of sleep.
I'm just saying, drop a
No,
little
Rodney.
NyQuil or a little old fashioned. They sleep through the night, man.
Just a little dab of rum.
Yeah, they sleep through the night and you
when
sleep in the
they're
jail.
teething.
It's great.
Oh, by the way, congrats, Paul, on the baby boy. Hey,
I appreciate that,
you gonna get on my level and bring him on with you?
Hell yeah. I'm going to have to. Yeah. I don't get any days off.
Replace me on the show.
Yeah. I don't get any days off.
But I'll apologize in advance if this impression falls flat. But I sent this text earlier to my buddy after it happened. I said, that number 88, he's a man, baby.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's a grown, he's a grown man. But Jeremy, there's a couple people talking over here in the comments. I want to get your thoughts on this because we dived into it a little bit, but not a ton. What about the secondary? I don't think we've talked about how much they got scorched tonight. Is it something you're concerned with?
So yeah, that is concerning with me. I mean, I commented when I was tuning in and out of the watch along show with Coach Donna tonight, and I commented on it. And I think like moments later, Coach Donna said the same thing. When they hit for one of those deep bombs, I just wrote exposed. Like this defense is built to keep everything in front of them, but you can take the top off them. I mean, the way to beat this defense is to take your deep shots. And if you can hit them, Georgia's going to be in trouble. And LSU hit on them. Thank God, like you said, we had the lead. And that is what worries me potentially about facing Ohio State next round. Now, I still think we can win, but man, it's going to make the butthole pucker up a lot more, knowing these guys. You got a quarterback in Stroud that can make those throws. Now, the only thing that does give me, makes me feel better about Stroud is he's a little more like Hooker. He's going to be more of a pocket passer. So I don't think he's as quick to run as say Daniels or Caleb Williams is.
Yeah, but at the same time, that Nussmeier, what was his name? How do you pronounce it?
Nussmeier, I think.
Nussmeier. He wasn't running at all. He was staying in the pocket and throwing dots.
Killed him.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know if maybe you want the guy that can run out of the pocket.
That's one. I tell you, that's one thing that worries me because I mean, before that, what I did not like seeing, and this kind of goes back to that analogy I gave a few weeks ago, is don't just put your foot on the neck, cut the head off. I didn't like them driving down before the half, sitting back and let them drive down before the half and kick the field goal. I did not like that. I thought that was a bad move.
You watched the watch along, right? And Coach gave me all sorts of shit because I said that reminds me of Georgia versus Oklahoma.
That is what it reminded me of a little bit.
Just it feels like maybe an inconsequential score before the half, but it does give you a little bit of momentum. Then Georgia goes out there, gets the ball back, and has a really nice drive going, but they put the ball on the ground once, they recover it. Then a few plays later, they put the ball on the ground a second time. All of a sudden they score. Instead of being up 42-10, now it's 35-17. You're like, okay, now this is the complexion of that game changed completely with that turnover, and they felt like they were still in it. I'll give LSU all the credit; they never gave up.
They quit. I'll give them that.
Brian Kelly's teams won't.
And I've got it in my notes here. It got to 35-17, and then Nussmeier drives the field. LSU goes for it on 4th down, doesn't get it. I mean, this could be a different game. I mean, you're looking at if they go for it right there and get it, you're looking at 35-24. They've got a ton of momentum. Instead, Georgia got that ball back, and that's when Milton hit that 51-yard run, and McIntosh scored that touchdown. But I mean, you're like you said, Jeremy, that to get to 10, and then you get to 17, and then they went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. I think that was probably the biggest play of the game, I would imagine.
I would say definitely underrated play of the game for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeremy, what's your biggest play of the game? Because I posed this question to Paul earlier, and he ducked it.
I mean, it had to be the CBS play of the game to me because I when it happened, I was like, that's a live ball, guys. Someone picked that up. Like that, it wasn't an extra point.
I completely forgot it was live.
But I mean, yeah, like I think my favorite play of the game was seeing Jalen just hold him there, like he was a little, I don't know, little chihuahua or something.
Teacup poodle, baby.
I'm trying to think if there was another one. I'll tell you what, something else that stuck out to me, and it was there for a minute and then it went away. I don't know if whatever shoes Stetson was wearing earlier was not working. I don't know if he kept slipping. It seemed like on some of those passes earlier.
He did. Yeah,
He was almost like slipping as he was throwing.
He was. And on turf, you want to wear a different size cleat on turf. Maybe he had the wrong size in or something. I don't know. Or maybe he wasn't used to it. But yeah, he was slipping on a few of his passes. The one I can very distinctly remember was to Don Blaylock over the middle, and he slipped on that one, and Blaylock had to kind of catch behind him because of that. So,
and there was one before that as well.
There was.
It looked like he was about to slip and fall. There was trying to think if there's anything else that I thought one of the running backs kind of slipped a little bit, but I'm forgetting now who that was. But
Dejan did, I think.
It may it was Dejan. But I tell you, I commented earlier.
Let me interrupt you real quick here, Jeremy. I want to point out something that a lot of guys don't know. Do you remember there was one practice, not last year, but the year before, where 2 guys got injured, foot injuries? Darnell Washington was one of them, and somebody else on the same
Tyke
day.
Smith, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tyke Smith. Yeah. Darnell Washington, Tyke Smith, both hurt like their left.
It was the same exact injury, yeah.
Same exact injury on their foot, one of the tarsals or whatever you call them. Point being, they were wearing soccer cleats. Now, you kind of want to bust the equipment guys for not putting them in the right cleats, but players are allowed to pick what they want. And you had a couple guys out there in the wrong style cleats. So even though you're going indoors, and remember there was a big thing on Monday about what's it like playing on turf versus playing on grass, and there's like 6 or 7 questions about it, which I thought was a bit overkill. But sometimes when you tell the players, hey, you need to wear these cleats to play on turf versus grass or whatever, the players don't have to. The players have the wherewithal, the option to pick what they want. So much so that there were a couple players 2 years ago that were wearing soccer cleats because they liked them or they liked the feel of them or whatever. And they wind up wearing the wrong damn cleats and getting injured, So sometimes it can drive you crazy when you're like, look, you're supposed to wear these longer cleats or shorter cleats or whatever, and they wear the wrong ones. And due to fashion or due to fit or due to comfort or due to whatever's in their head, maybe it's doo-doo, I don't know. It's just, it drives you crazy. It's like, why are you wearing the wrong cleats when we're indoors for this? But I thought it was very big that you didn't have any weather issues today. I think Georgia looked good, even though there were some guys slipping. But we've seen, like at Kentucky, guys were cold. They were slipping there. We've seen some wet games where guys had issues. So, but going forward, hey, back in the Dome, if they win that one, they're in LA in the Dome again. So you don't have as many issues. But hopefully it's like, if you're going to, hey, don't wear the wrong cleats. You remember what happened? You've been in the Dome twice this year. You've scored 49 points and 50 points. Let's be sure to wear the right cleats tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, a couple more things I want to hit on, and then I'll get off here, guys.
Hey, take your time.
I will say, I'll tell you what the defensive lapses aside tonight, and I was saying some choice words along the second half. What does give me comfort is that Georgia's best games, especially offensively this year, have come on the biggest stages: Oregon, Tennessee, and tonight. So that does give me confidence knowing this team. I do think they have gone through the motions at times against the inferior opponents, but when the bell, when someone's ringing the bell with them on the big stages, they've answered it. Again, minus the defensive lapses tonight, that aside, they've answered the bell on the 3 biggest games this year so far.
No, you're 100% correct. And that's why a lot of people were giving me grief about my recommendation, my score prediction. I picked Georgia to win by 9 instead of covering. And hey, there are a couple times I'm like, hey, my prediction is going to turn out pretty well, but everyone said, well, Georgia gets up for the big games. I'm like, yeah, that's true, but I don't know if this is that big a game in their mind, Jeremy, because I was thinking it'd be very easy to say, yeah, we want to win the SEC championship, but we're looking at the playoff game. I don't want to say that and everyone said, well, this is a huge game for Kirby because he only has 1 SEC title. I'm like, yeah, it's big for Kirby, but that doesn't mean it's big for them. These kids are looking for a national title. So I didn't want to say it wasn't a big game, but it didn't have the same feel of that Oregon game, the first game of the season against the top opponent. It didn't have that Tennessee feel. Tennessee is, Tennessee was ahead of Georgia in the playoff rankings. It's like,
right.
They're ranked ahead of you. The disrespect, they're coming to your house. You got to defend your house. Again, I felt that LSU needed this game. Georgia wanted it, but LSU needed it more. So I didn't know which team we were going to show up. And then after that first drive, or first 2 drives, LSU, after two drives, we're 12 minutes into the game. Georgia's had 3 plays. They've gone 3 and out, and LSU's got 160 yards. Georgia has 6 yards. I'm like, I just kind of had that feel that they wanted it more. And then you had the block kick, and then the the interception, and then Georgia just absolutely boat raced them in the second quarter. But that was that kind of, to your point, that kind of feeling about it.
Mo's a funny fellow, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Back and forth, doesn't he? Okay. So on the playoff, so Paul, were you saying, if I heard right, that you think that they may end up slipping TCU to 4 and have Ohio State play Michigan?
I think so. I think that's your best 1 through 4, and then it also makes the most sense in terms of TV revenue too.
Well, I definitely would like that, but I guess I'm just going off, and that does make sense. I guess I'm just going off that, from the 2 previous times you've had Georgia and Bama, they've avoided sticking them in a semi against each other. So that's the only thing that's made me kind of.
But the thing with that though is a little bit different. Is didn't they play in the championship against each other, right?
Last year,
Right.
2017, it was Georgia Auburn. So yeah, Bama got in as that was what got Georgia into the CFP, and then Bama backdoored their way in.
So this is a little different because they played in the regular season as opposed to championship, in my opinion. But
I tell you, that's what I hope happens. Because I was wanting USC because of the bad defense.
USC's defense looked so bad last night, but
yeah,
Caleb Williams looked really good.
And it's definitely no contest. Yeah, I'd rather see TCU versus and Michigan or Ohio State. Now I will say, again, of those 3, Ohio State's the only one that scares me. Michigan, to me, Michigan tries to play Georgia football, and right now, college football, nobody does what Georgia does better than Georgia. So if Georgia were to see Michigan again, I'm not going to just sit there and say it's just in the bag, but I just don't see Michigan. I think it'd be a closer game, but I don't see Michigan beating Georgia again.
Here's the crazy thing, Jeremy. You can potentially, if you're Georgia, you could get TCU first round, Michigan second round in the championship, and that's probably the easiest route, if you will, right?
Yes,
I would think. Yeah. So TCU first round, Michigan second round. The hardest route you could get, which people still seem to think that it is a chance, you could get Alabama first round, Ohio State second round. So there is a multitude of different ways this could go. You could get the easiest of easy, or you could get death row.
Ohio and Michigan.
I hope not. I hope
you have to go through Ohio State and Michigan.
You could do that too.
I thought about that too. I was like, well, I tell you, if they were to pull that off, then I think they should lay claim to the Big Ten title as well.
Somebody said that. Somebody said that in the press box. They were like, "Yeah, they can win the Big Ten as well off that," because you're right. I mean, but there's so many different ways this could swing in Georgia's favor or not. I don't think Alabama gets in, but you have those people that do, right? And Nick Saban's on TV begging for it basically at the halftime of the Michigan game.
We'll see. And then for me, I don't want to see Bama get in just because I'm tired of seeing them.
I think the whole world is too, and this is the perfect year to leave them out. They've had two losses, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at with some people. I was like, you realize, some of these people you are rooting for chaos. I was like, you realize, in most years that's fine, but if you're rooting for chaos this year, that means letting the establishment get back in the playoff.
You're right. You're exactly right. Yeah, the chaos is bringing two teams in that have been in the playoff a ton already.
And honestly, it's bad for college football.
That's what I said.
Why are they expanding? Because every year you could go, well, it's going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and one other. And if you're a fan of college football, if you see the same four teams in the playoffs every year, you're like, just what's the point? If you're an NC State fan, you're like, I don't care. West Virginia, I don't care. Miami, I don't give a damn. It's college. It's the same four teams. So I think just from a keeping your sport alive standpoint, if a sport gets predictable, it's not interesting. So that's why we enjoy the upsets. We enjoy Marshall going and winning. We enjoy, Appalachian State knocking off the big dogs. You love the upset. So maybe get 12 teams in there.
So real quick on that too, my take on the 12-team playoff. I'm glad they're finally getting it, but I think seeds 1 through 4 need to get an additional home game. In addition to the bye, what makes college football so special are those on-campus games, that on-campus atmosphere. To me, if you're 1 through 4, you deserve, and your school deserves that added revenue of another home game. And then I don't like if you're the seed 1 playing the 8-9 winner, I think they should mimic the NFL playoffs where highest seed always plays the lowest winning seed. That's how I would do it.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
like if 12 were to beat 5, 12 goes to 1. That's how the NFL does it. If the 7 seed wins, they're going to the number 1 seed or whoever the lowest winning seed is plays the highest remaining seed.
That makes a lot of sense.
To me, is how I would do it. But
that makes a lot of sense. The big thing you mentioned though, and Dane Young has alluded to this on Twitter a ton, is just what you said. The teams 1 through 4 in this new 2024, 12-team expansion, they don't get that home game. The play-in game from between 8 and 9 and 5 and 12, 5 gets the home game, 8 gets the home game. You're almost getting punished for being 1 through 4. You'd rather lose a game during the season and be 5, 6, 7, or 8, so you can get another home game. Not only does it bring you tons of revenue, but you get the crowd too. So I think and they won't do this because it doesn't make any sense because you make money off of this, right? And the bowls don't want to do this, but the bowl game should be 8 and 9, like the Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, things like that. 8 and 9, 5 versus 12. Then the second, the semifinals are all home games. Could you imagine? Yes. Could you imagine Athens having a home game semifinal?
Hosting USC or somebody.
Right, hosting USC, who just won. Goodness gracious. It would be it might be the biggest game ever to grace Sanford Stadium. Instead, you're going to have, you're going to reward Clemson of the world, who got an 8 seed, and they get a home game. So, apparently that's the way it's going. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. Apparently, Drake May just had a pick 6, so that's not looking good. And also Michigan right now is 28-13, Jeremy. So
yeah, I just saw them go in for the touchdown. Okay. Well,
so Michigan's going to stay at 2, it sounds like. And then you have, I really can't see a world where TCU drops out of the top 4, because that's how you're going to get Alabama in, right? I don't think Alabama magically jumps to Ohio State this week. And I know that they said that Boo Carrington, or whatever his name is, the college playoff director, said that just because Ohio State's 5 this week and Alabama's 6 this week doesn't mean that can't change based on the games that are being played. If anything, Michigan's winning 28-13. That shows better for Ohio State, right? I mean,
I think so. I mean, Purdue. I mean, they're just now kind of starting to pull away from Purdue. I mean, I guess that's really kind of what I expected anyway. Purdue, a tight first half, and then Michigan starts slowly pulling away. So
there's no other teams that should be. So it'll be interesting tomorrow. Who do you want in the first round?
I want TCU. I just assumed it was going to be Ohio State just because I didn't think they would. Because I was going off that reasoning that they wouldn't want to stick Ohio State and Michigan against each other in a semi. But I tell you, like you said, that would draw more eyes.
Oh my God! For that 8:00 game, I can't tell you. Like my wife's from Ohio, her family's from Ohio. It seems like you can ask anybody. They've got family in Ohio, right? And they're all Ohio State fans. That game would bring huge viewership at 8:00 on December 31st, and because the thing is, and I don't know how much. I think Uncle Sam asked this in the chat. How much it really factors into TV revenue and things like that when the college football playoff is happening. That's like some inside baseball stuff that I don't know. I would assume that they kind of coexist because ESPN wants to make the most money, right? And the way they make the most money is through the games, so the matchups. So I'm sure that there's some type of inside politics going on there. I don't want to assume though because it makes an ass out of you and me.
They set these matches up, to make them
right.
They make them made for TV, no matter what they tell you publicly.
So with that, Jeremy, if you have TCU, right, nobody really wants to watch TCU. The playoff committee knows that, but they're also a one-loss, in their conference championship in overtime. You can't kick them out of the playoffs. So what do? You put them against Georgia, who everybody knows Georgia's probably the most dominant team that's left, right? And you put them against Georgia at 4:00, you're going to have the same amount of people watch that game as you probably would if you had Georgia versus Ohio State. You'd probably have a little bit more viewership if it was Georgia, Ohio State, obviously, but not a huge difference. The difference isn't going to be there. The difference between Michigan and TCU or Michigan, Ohio State at 8:00 is a lot bigger. And so that's where I see that going. And you're going to, it also guarantees if you have Ohio State jump TCU, it guarantees a Big Ten team in the championship. So if you go to the Big Ten and say, hey, look, you're getting one team in, I think they'd say yes to that, right?
Yeah, they would. Yeah, I think they would take that. The Michigan probably won't be too happy about it, but
right. Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. Foster Moss says if that was Texas or Oklahoma's in TCU's position, it wouldn't even be a debate if they were in the top 4. Is it name recognition here, Jeremy? Is that what's happening to them?
It's a brand. Yeah, you're right. It's a name brand thing. That's the reason USC. That's the reason USC got into all this is because they're the West Coast power, and again, there's a jealous part of me that really I wanted to see USC win because I wanted to see Georgia face a traditional power.
Oh yeah, that would have been a great matchup.
And take down a big name, and then go take down another big name in Ohio State or Michigan. But whatever TCU's who's next or whoever's next. I mean, yeah, obviously of those 3, yeah, give me TCU all day.
Okay, here's one. I don't want you to leave yet, Jeremy, because Roddy's not back yet. I'll just be talking to myself. So I'm not going to let you go just yet. Greg, who's a big fan of the show, says, honestly, top 4 should stay the same. Teams shouldn't be able to leap others by staying home and doing nothing. What's your thoughts on that?
I think typically I think I would probably tend to agree with that, but that's just not what's been the past history. Right. I mean, we Bama backdoor their way into championship games, on 2 occasions now.
Yeah,
we saw Nebraska 20 years ago in 2001 get crushed by Colorado, and didn't even play in a Big 12 title. Backdoor their way into a national championship against Miami. Not sure if you recall that, but I remember that. That was that 0-1 Miami team beat the absolute living crap out of them. They had no business being in the national championship game. But it was the same similar scenario.
And I'm not a historian. I can't even remember what I had for lunch today. When did the college football playoff switch to this leaping by staying home? Does that make sense? Like, who was the first one? When did they set that precedent of you don't have to play?
Wasn't Alabama the first team that sat on their ass and got in?
Yeah. No. In the play, in the playoff, yes.
Yes, in the playoff. That's what I'm talking about in the playoff.
Yes.
That was 2017 Alabama?
2017
So
Alabama.
this precedent's been set for 5 years now that you can sit on your ass and still get in the playoff. And had they never set that precedent, then we might be looking at a completely different thing here. But they've already set that. So that's what I was
remember. It worked against Georgia
in 2007.
Yeah. And they said, okay, we have 4 teams. Georgia's ranked number 4. And remember, there's like, I think it was BCS or wherever, and only the top 2 teams get to go. 1 and 2 lose, or 2 and 3 lose, and you're like, well, Georgia should move up. They're number 4. They're like, well, they didn't play in the SEC championship game, so they don't get to move up. Kirk Herbstreit, of all people, was the one who was just ripping on them, and Georgia stayed, and 2 teams jumped them. I'm like,
Foster Moss says no, it was Ohio State the first time. I don't know. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yes.
Was it
Ohio State?
Foster knows the stuff, so if he says it's Ohio State, I'll believe him.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Here's something. Greg says, fun fact, Caleb Williams was Lincoln Riley's second choice. He got that scholarship after Brock Vandegrift flipped to UGA. Wonder how Brock feels about that choice. I remember that vividly.
Hey, Caleb was coming to Georgia.
Yeah. So there's a fun fact, a little flip for you, Greg. Had Brock not flipped, then there you go.
And Georgia was holding out because Caleb wasn't going to decide yet. But then Brock decommitted, said, I want to come to Georgia. And it's like, bird in the hand, one in the bush. Do you tell him, hey, don't come to Georgia because we might get Caleb down the road? And we think we're going to get him, but you just can't be sure. And then the hometown kid decommits and says he's coming to you. You can't not take that commit. There was a question earlier in the show about what about him to I feel bad. Someone asked, what about the rumors of Brock Vandegrift to Georgia Southern? That's been a popular rumor. If you read the Georgia 321 report at UGAsports.com, we listed not all, but a number of guys that we are expecting we're watching for transfer portal. Some we are expecting to go. Some we are just keeping an eye on because they could go to get more playing time. We mentioned Brock Vandegrift specifically, and we said that we expect him to stick around through spring practice to see how things shake out.
And to jump, if we will, to another segment here, the 7-6. I know you guys normally use code POS22 to get 20% off. The 7-6, guys, tonight only. Well, not tonight only, but this is for POS listeners only. Excuse me. POS listeners only. SEC 25. SEC 25 gets you 25% off. They're putting all their SEC championship gear up on the site soon. It might be up now, Roddy, but it is. LSU right there. Go, you silver britches. They have all that stuff up right now, guys. And this is this is only for the POS listeners. This code, we're not tweeting this code out. 7-6 isn't tweeting this code out. Special code for you guys tonight. SEC 25 gets you 25% off anything SEC related from the championship. Guys.
I love this sweater.
Yeah, you want to get that GATA sweater, guys. Put that code in.
That is awesome.
Make it happen.
You're gonna have to wear the the holiday sweater. That's the one.
That's the one right there.
Give me this hat.
Yeah.
That's the SEC logo / but turn it into Sikkim. I love it. That's killer. So,
but yeah, right now, Roddy, I got the text. We got a special code tonight. SEC 25. Use it tonight. Get 25% off. There you go. Don't say I never did anything for you guys. You're welcome.
Those are really, really, really good.
Jeremy, what else you got for us, man? Before we let you go,
I'll ask y'all one more question. I'll hop off. I think my voice is starting to go here. Look, I guess, are we all in agreement who we want to see is TCU and Michigan?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you want, yeah, I think
TCU and USC.
Well, you're not going to see you.
Well, he said who I want.
Well, I mean,
technically you could, right? You could, because if we're talking about this not changing because of the conference championships, you could see USC first, TCU second.
Well,
that would be
before last night,
yeah.
or after last night, excuse me. But yes, that's who I would wanted to have seen. But yeah, don't want to. It's like you said, it's not out of. I wouldn't say it's out of fear, because I think Georgia can beat. I could think Georgia can and would beat Bama and Ohio State. It would just be a lot easier and a lot better on my blood pressure if Georgia can play TCU and Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I think you want to avoid Ohio State at all costs. You don't want to see Alabama and USC. For me, I would much rather see Michigan than USC. I know USC's defense is trash, but Caleb Williams is damn good. They have some really good wide receivers. So TCU, Michigan for me all day long.
I think TCU just you can score on them. Max Duggan's really good, but that's a game that Georgia should win. I mean, heck, what happened? They just lost to Kansas. Kansas State. You can beat them. Michigan's a tough out. It's not the same Michigan team that you walloped last year. Remember, they got embarrassed against Georgia, so they're going to come back, and when they face you again, they're going to be like, hey, they're coming for redemption. They're a better team than they were, but you still – I mean, it's not like they've got this brand-new giant offensive line. Those guys that they brought out there last year that Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt just tore through, they still don't have anybody that can stop Jalen Carter. So I like Georgia's chances there. Now, the funny thing is, you just faced John Emery that you had been recruiting. Now you're going up against Donovan Edwards that Georgia really went head-to-head with.
Yeah, they did. I remember he had his
world it is.
He had his commitment ceremony outside. I forgot where he's from. It might be Michigan or Ohio, one of those. It might be New Jersey. Hell, I don't know. But I remember it was outside and it started to snow and it looked absolutely miserable. The people there were like, dude, please make this happen a little faster. And I can only imagine what the people who were the recruiting writers that were out there holding the cameras, because they just sat there like nothing was happening.
Go.
No, they sat there like nothing was happening. And he's going through all of it, 15, 20 minutes. Then he finally announces where he's going. And I mean, by that time, there's snow on people's hats. I mean, on their shoulders. They're just getting pelted out there. And he just acting like nothing happened. I'm like, dude, that's looks terrible. That does not look fun at all. So, yeah, Donovan Edwards, he reminds me of that. So, Jeremy, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for filling in for Roddy there for a little bit.
Dude, when I take a phone call like that, it's because certain people within this organization, within the UJ organization, when they call me, I got to take those calls.
Certain people call me, and I have to take. Look, very important people.
Who's on the other end there? You'd be like, okay.
You would answer the call too. Listen here.
So I didn't. If I missed any of it, did they? If I missed it during the watch along show, because I didn't get to hear like all of what they were saying during the game, like. I couldn't catch how serious it was for McConkey. I just figured, like, all right, we got a big enough lead. We don't need to risk him the rest of the game.
Well, here's the thing. We broke the news, and some people gave me crap about it because we broke it at UGAsports.com. That's why you become a member of UGAsports.com. That Ladd McConkey and Warren McClendon were not going to play the second half. We broke that right as they were coming out of halftime. And they're like, well, of course you're not going to play. You're up by 3 touchdowns. No, you remember they had their starters in the entire rest of the game. Those guys were injured. And apparently Warren McClendon has an MCL issue.
Oh, man.
How bad it is. He'll probably go for an MRI tomorrow or something like that. Ladd McConkey has some knee tendonitis, i.e. inflammation. Hey, get him a little bit of that there.
No.
Give him a little full spectrum salve there. That'll cure what ails you, baby.
Yeah.
It's a good anti-inflammatory, so try it out. I works on my knee, but remember you saw him land on that knee on that long play down the sideline, and what a great game he was having too in the first half. The touchdowns and then There's the big catches. So Ladd McConkey's back, but it was a tendonitis issue that's aggravated. That was the call I just took. We were talking about some of this stuff. It's more concerning about Warren McClendon. A lot of that has to play out. Less concern over Ladd McConkey, but just knee tendonitis. Hopefully you can rest him. You've got 28 days.
Okay, we got 4 weeks. 4 weeks from this season.
Yeah. So that's the latest we heard.
Gotcha. All right, boys. Voice is starting to go. Y'all,
save your voice. You can yell at your kid tomorrow.
I'll catch the rest of the podcast Monday morning.
All right, brother.
All right.
Or is that just my dad who yelled all the time?
We got William Carlin here. William Carlin is my best friend's dad. He was pretty much my dad growing up, and was my wedding officiant. So we're gonna invite him into the stream. William, what's up, Mr. Willie?
Go Dogs!
There you go.
I love it.
How about him?
Good to see you, Paul.
Yes, sir.
I've enjoyed y'all so much.
Well, we appreciate it.
I have never seen a team that can look so good and so bad at the same time and still win by 20 points. That's my comment.
That's accurate, Roddy. I mean, they look so dominant today, but at the same time, you looked at how they did on pass defense and, giving up
500 yards passing hung on them.
Yeah, 500 yards.
And a half.
When was the last time? We'll have to ask Dave McMahon this. When was the last time Georgia gave up 500 passing yards? I can't think of it. We couldn't think of it in the press box. I mean, it had to be 10 plus years ago, right?
What was it? They gave up like 200 just to Josh Van alone against South Carolina.
Yeah, but still 500 by 2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Willie's right. I tend to agree with him. I haven't seen a team look so good and so bad at the same time. And then they dominate. They score. They put a 50 burger up.
You felt that way against Kentucky. You felt that way against Mississippi State, even though you won handily there. You felt that way against Georgia Tech. When you're watching that quarterback run.
We are what we are, guys.
Yeah, you felt nervous against Florida. We
are what we are.
Yeah,
and we're great.
You're 13.
So, love it, live it. Enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's my comment.
William, you were dead on.
We can't let you go too easy though. I got a couple things for you before you go. Who do you want in the first round?
Bama. I want Bama. I want to boat race them guys and shut them up.
Okay, then who do you want in the second round then?
I want Michigan because they're not that good. I'm sitting here watching them, get, they're beating Purdue, but they're not that good.
Yeah.
What's the score in that game? I don't have it up.
28-13.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game type of thing. But yeah, I want to boat race Bama. just to shut them up.
Yeah. That's what a couple people in the chat are saying too. They want it one more time before old Nick Saban and all them run off into the woods.
So they had Saban on.
Yeah, what's up with that?
At halftime of this game, and he's begging everybody to let him in.
So what did he say?
Oh, you just have to look at the resume and how we only lost by 2 points and all that kind of thing.
Oh God.
They only lost by 2, but they only won by like 2 in like 3 other games. So
I understand all that. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying.
So, they did have Saban on there begging them to let him in.
Yeah.
Now to be fair, Mark Richt, I remember him going on and lobbying for his
didn't he?
Yeah.
It was like at midnight.
Like the minute the game they had ended, he's like, hey, put me on TV, damn it. Let's go.
Yeah, that was so weird. That was such a it was like Willie said, it was like midnight, and you're like, what? Mark Richt? What?
We got Mark Richt coming on to make his case for why Georgia.
But in his
or whatever,
in his defense, we really were a very good team at that point in time. They just, they just killed Hawaii. I mean, it was like the first play of the game against Hawaii, the game was over.
Yeah.
Because
rest in peace,
Claudel Washington came off the edge and sacked
Colt Brennan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Colt.
Was it Brennan or McCoy?
Colt McCoy went to Texas. Brennan was a Hawaii guy.
Colt 45. Yeah. I don't know who the hell it was, but I'm just saying that was
today's game was great.
Marcus killed him.
I've got concerns with our left corner, Keely. You know, he had a rough day.
He did. A lot of folks talking about that in the chat right now. So Brian Clark asking, have we talked about Keely? We have. It, you know.
He had a bag. I do want to give him one defense of Keely Ringo, though. That last touchdown in the end zone, that was against zone coverage. Malachi Stark should have had the back deep part of the field. Keely runs with him, but then it's supposed to pass him off. Because you can see Keely's like, okay, if you're watching the upper view, you don't see it. But when you see it from the field view, you can see him basically try to pass him off. And then he shades that way after the ball's in the air, and it's too late. And everyone's like, oh, Keely Ringo got beat on that one. I thought he got beat too. I argued with Coach Donovan about it, and Coach points out here's where it shows that they were in zone, and somebody didn't get deep enough on him. And it looked like it was a Malachi Starks issue, not a Keely Ringo one. But Keely had enough issues in the game where you're like, damn, man, what's with all the pass interference calls? What's with the getting beat here? What's with the – at least he didn't get juked out of his shoes this week like he did last week.
But, Mr. Willie, I appreciate you calling in. Who's your game ball for offense and defense before we let you go?
Well, Stetson's offense.
Yep.
He's the man.
Yep.
4 touchdown throws, yep.
I'm going for
Jalen.
Number one, Jalen. You know, how can you not go with him picking the guy up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and going, you know, I got you.
Yeah. Hey, William, everyone, we've been talking about Stetson and all those quarterbacks for Heisman. If you want to go with the best college football player, how do you not pick Jalen Carter for Heisman? I mean, it never gets to a defensive guy ever, but I mean, again, that play where he's picking up Jaden Daniels, just holding like a teacup.
You can't pick Jalen is because he was out for how many games?
Yeah, he's out half the season, wasn't he?
He was out half the season.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going objectively, who's your best player in college football right now? I'm like, I mean, the way he slapped down that right guard to stop him on 4th down.
Yes. Yeah.
4th and 1.
Yes.
Oh, I mean,
that's going to be a hate crime.
Yeah. It is in 20 different states.
That was against the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
You have. I mean, if you're going for the
he should have
season,
been arrested for assault.
If you're going for the season, I love. I mean, Stetson will never get it, but I mean, my gosh, if you want the story, you want the guy that's accomplished. He's the man. But yeah, Jalen Carter's probably the best player in college football.
Well, Mr. Will, I sure do appreciate you calling in.
Well, Paul, good to see you. It's actually Miss Sue that figured out the technology to get me here.
There we go.
So
good
say
deal.
hey to Sue.
Hey, Miss Sue. Hey, here we go. All right, well, we'll see y'all.
Thank y'all.
See ya. Roddy, they're kicking me out of here. They're giving me dirty looks. They got to clean this room up.
All right, clean it. Well, we've been on for 2 hours and 8 minutes. I think.
We have. Good.
Hey, folks, thank you for joining us. We're going to wrap it up here. Paul's getting kicked out of the stadium. There's a lot empty. They want to clean up. They got to pick up all his spit cups and all his tobacco leavings there. So Paul's got to leave that. Big shout out to the Rogue Shop for being a sponsor. Give them the 7-6 apparel logo. I mean the discount code.
Tonight, SEC 25, guys. SEC 25. SEC 25 over at the 7-6. SEC 25.
It would help us very much if you guys would go to the 7-6 Apparel, order stuff from them. They're going to make it. Now, it's not like you're ordering from Amazon. They're going to actually have to print it for you. Just because you see the mock-up doesn't mean they have 700 products ready to go. They will make it for you. So it'll take some time for you to get it, but go try SEC 2025.
SEC 25, yeah, put it in the chat.
SEC 25 and put that in. And, of course, our friends at ASW Distillery, probably a little blurry from the sheer number of old fashions I've had tonight. Check out ASW Distillery at the Battery. Try all 3 of their tasting rooms in Atlanta. And be sure to tune in. We'll, maybe next Sunday, Paul will have a call-in show.
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
All right, folks. We'll talk to you later. Y'all take care.
Appreciate you so much. Oh, let me put the outro in. We'll see you later. Like the video, guys. Subscribe. See you.